Hello, welcome to the Bitcoinlens podcast. This is episode 17 today. So, what a crazy week we had this week with Donald Trump winning the US election. That was really kind of mind blowing to see that actually. I think looking at the polls, for those of you who follow the polls, you probably now know that these polls are absolute rubbish. You look at the CNN poll, ABC poll, NPR poll, CNBC poll. I mean, you name it. Every single poll got this one wrong by 20, 30 points. So, yeah, polls versus betting markets versus the internal polls. You can see there, obviously, the betting markets pretty much had it spot on. They gave Trump about 65% chance of winning there. And then the internal polls of both candidates had Trump favored as well. That's why you saw some panic there in the last few months there from the Harris campaign there. But big win there for the crypto industry. I mean, if you're a crypto supporter, you should be super excited. Other than just the mandate that this placed on Donald Trump for executing these policies and these promises that he promised us. What a landslide of a victory this was, and definitely looking forward to see how this is going to play out. But I mean, if it wasn't for the border, the economy, inflation, deficit, foreign relations, trade, you can pick anything of the gamut, and it's just pretty much he pretty much won on all those policies. But from a Bitcoin perspective, how can we look at this now? He did mention, like I said in July, the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. Him and Senator Loomis with the Bitcoin Act, which pretty much mandated that they buy 1 million Bitcoin in 4 years. So this will be incredible. Assuming they buy 1 million Bitcoin in 4 years, that's gonna account for roughly $57 million of daily Bitcoin purchasing. That's gonna be the floor price there. So $57 million of daily Bitcoin purchasing. Along you add, let's say for instance, you add MicroStrategy, they're buying about 20.4 million a day. That's going to be a minimum floor buy-in between MicroStrategy and the U.S. government of about 78 million per day. And this is also now going to definitely mean that, any seized Bitcoin from the US government is also not going to be sold like we historically have. So we'll hold on to all that Bitcoin so you won't see these major sell offs. And also, at the Bitcoin conference, they promised all kinds of things like self custody protections, potential taxation friendly policies, regulation, less regulation. So this is going to be pretty epic if this plays out like we think it is, and you can already see, Bitcoin's reacted. So I saw right after the election, literally a few days after, you saw China TV news. They also came out and they actually announced it on their primetime news channel there, and basically showed that or announced that Trump's got that plans for strategic reserve, which we've been knowing this for a few months. We've known about this for at least 6 months now, but still pretty crazy. You see that on China news, so they are aware, and this may ramp up the nation state game theory a little bit. I think you're really going to see this ramp up now. If you see powerhouses like China and Russia and BRICS really become way stronger in their Bitcoin policy and mining policies. So also, I also read this week from the Satoshi Act Fund, Dennis Porter, the CEO and founder there. He said he, like, right after the election, right after the Trump win, it's kind of a trickle effect, right? One thing happens, Trump wins, and now all of a sudden everything's looking great, economy's looking great, or the foreseeable future of the economy at least seems to have some good optimism right now. And then Satoshi Act Fund, like I said, the CEO, he came out and said this week a lot of states have been reaching out to him right after the election, and now all of a sudden they all want strategic Bitcoin reserves. So you see the trickle effect here of one leader now pushing for that along with some other folks. And this is a trickle down effect, absolute trickle down effect, where nations are now going to adopt this. And you're seeing more states trying to put it on their balance sheets. Moving to the SEC, if you haven't seen yet, and to no surprise, as Trump announced at the Bitcoin conference, he's going to fire Gary Gensler on day one. That's the SEC chair, for those of you not familiar. And he was kind of the mastermind behind Operation Choke Point and all the the lack of all the regulation on the ETFs, and basically just putting a choke on all of the crypto industry. So the new likely appointee is going to be very likely the crypto mom. So yeah, her name is Hester. So she's probably going to Hester Pierce is her last name. So she's probably going to be the likely new SEC chair, and she is currently the SEC commissioner. But kind of the crypto world has given her the crypto mom nickname since she was a huge critic of Gensler's kind of regulatory approach and Operation Choke Point and all that. So that could be a really it could be like a refreshing little change there in the SEC for any crypto or Bitcoin holders. Also, kind of on that note of Operation Choke Point, and definitely read up on that one if you haven't yet. There's a lot more detail to it, but yeah, just basically choking the crypto industry. But one of its main enforcers, the Senate Banking Committee chair, Sherrod Brown of Ohio, he lost his Senate seat as well during this election. So a good win there for Bitcoiners as well. It's a pity Elizabeth Warren didn't lose against Deaton in Massachusetts, but hey, we still have the leaders we need in place now to pretty much make her irrelevant. So all of this to say, you see all these amazing moves, you see all the reactions to it, you see all the resignations now. Gensler said he's going to resign now, end of the month. I'm sure it's not a true resignation, but anyway, that's besides the point. You see the price moving right after all this stuff happened this week, and it's absolutely unbelievable. Just looking at the price right now, it's at 90K, $90,000 Bitcoin. Can you believe it? We just had a record weekly candle closing at 11K. So the Trump effect is very real right now. I mean, there's just no other way about it. We can kind of come up with other theories, but my God, he just got elected on November 5th, and you see a record weekly candle, and you see a $30,000 jump from October 11th till Trump's election, or from Trump until Trump's win. So it's pretty crazy. Just to kind of rewind a little bit, if you look at September 8th, Bitcoin was $54,000. Now it is 90,000. On October 11th, it was 60,000. On November 4th, it was 68,000. There was a slight pullback. I actually posted a tweet right before Trump, right before the election. I posted out a tweet. You're going to see a pullback on Bitcoin. People taking their profits. And then once Trump wins, it'll go parabolic. And what do you know? My tweet was 100% correct. And Bitcoin went absolutely parabolic, guys. I can't keep up with the price. I almost don't even want to look because it's going so fast. 90,000 right now. So hopefully some of you have some Bitcoin exposure by now. I know, this has been a big year for the ETFs and everything. So hopefully you have some exposure there in your 401k at least. If you don't feel comfortable yet having like straight up Bitcoin and hosting that on a cold wallet. On the market cap side of Bitcoin, we're at 1.74 trillion market cap right now. Just to kind of give you an idea, a measly little 7 years ago, Bitcoin only had a market cap of $130 billion. So it's pretty significant. And I really believe the next little prey this Bitcoin monster is going to swallow is gold market cap, and that is 13 trillion. So I really think we're coming after gold next. There's no way in hell we're not going to catch up to gold within the next 5 years. No chance. So this is really exciting stuff, guys. The Trump win for Bitcoin and all the residual effects of that and kind of the side effects of that is really looking promising. So if you're a Bitcoin holder and you don't vote on any other policy, you should be over the moon right now, and you probably can't believe what you're seeing right now. Looking at some other U.S. news, the Pennsylvania House passed a pro-Bitcoin bill with sweeping bipartisan vote, and over 85% of the Democrat-controlled House voted yes on the bill. So pretty good news there for the Pennsylvania House. Also, the state of Michigan, they came up with a little surprise there. I didn't see that coming, but the state of Michigan pension fund, they reported holding almost $7 million in Bitcoin ETFs, which I believe makes them the biggest pension fund Bitcoin ETF holder in the U.S. So that was pretty good to see there. And also, Michigan also came out to Detroit. Actually, Detroit in Michigan became the largest city in the U.S. to accept Bitcoin and crypto as payment for taxes. So that was pretty promising to see that as well. So some good news there from Michigan, really. And on top of that, Trump won Michigan as well. So that was really it's been a good month for Michigan. Also, moving on a little bit to some of the private companies here, like Tesla. I saw a rumor, don't know how true this is, but I've seen several people report this that Tesla is likely to accept Bitcoin as payment method in the next 2 months. And as a Tesla owner myself, I was super excited about that. I would love to pay for a Tesla with Bitcoin, and I think it's genius if they do that. I mean, you're just going to get so much more attraction. I'm seeing more and more people just not wanting to exchange fiat anymore. They want to operate in the Bitcoin world, and obviously right now it's still probably I'd probably say it's still the smarter choice to hold onto your Bitcoin, since it is the harder, more finite unit of account. So I would definitely hold on to that, and especially with this price movement and these policies coming and the printing of U.S. dollar, it's really a good thing to hold on to that for right now. But Bernstein Bank as well. There's a 725 billion asset under management. Bernstein, they urge their investors to add some exposure to Bitcoin and crypto as soon as possible. And I like this quote. They were just basically saying, "We will keep this simple. Don't fight this. Jump on this train. There's no point. There's no point kind of holding back anymore. You got to get on this train, or this train's going to catch too much pace and you can't jump on it, or it'll just be too much of a mountain to climb to get to 1 Bitcoin at the current rate of this price." And also remember, guys, we're at a point now where Bitcoin is pretty high. So if you can't make it to 1 Bitcoin, don't look at it in Bitcoin. Look at it in Satoshis. You get 100 million Satoshis. Try and buy as many Satoshis as you can, and just try and stack, because you know what? A little bit of a fast moving train, a fast growing watermelon is way better than having all of an orange that's not growing at all. So just keep that in mind. And some really good, exciting news there for some of these banks here. On the ETFs, so just to kind of give you an idea, this was kind of mind blowing when I saw this. So gold ETFs did $86 billion inflow in the first 9 years. And the price of gold then went from $458 to $1,400. In the first 10 months of the US Bitcoin ETFs alone, we've taken in 25 billion. That is in the first 10 months. Just a comparison there, 86 billion gold, 25 billion Bitcoin, and that is 9 years versus 10 months. Let that sink in a little bit. BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF is officially bigger than its gold ETF now. It is now a total of 33.2 billion assets in just 10 months, and the gold ETF's 32 billion. So pretty insane there. On the international side of the house, El Salvador is now $100 million in profits on their Bitcoin. They now own 435 million in Bitcoin, and that is roughly, depending on when you look this week, roughly about 6,150 Bitcoins. So unbelievable. And like I said on the previous podcast, they're on the cusp of paying off all their debt to the IMF as well. And with the Bitcoin price as it is now, I can imagine that happening in the next few months almost. So just finally, just to kind of wrap up this week's episode, just remember the great Dave Ramsey, the great economic advisor. He said Bitcoin, when Bitcoin was up, Bitcoin is up 1,500% since Dave Ramsey said Bitcoin is a really good way to turn $1 million into nothing. So we've had a lot of stuff like this, guys, and Mark Cuban as well. I know he's kind of deleting tweets as we speak, probably with all the stuff he was saying over the election campaign here. But he's deleted all his tweets. Kind of interesting. But in 2019, the famous Mark Cuban also said, "I'd rather have bananas than Bitcoin because at least it's useful." And in 2024, Mark Cuban changed his tune a little bit and said, "Bitcoin could become a currency." So, hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. That was just some of the highlights this week. Obviously, with Trump, that was the biggest news this week. It's hard to kind of keep up with that kind of news. That's just the big news right now. And just keep stacking, guys. Don't worry about the price. Just remember, if the price of Bitcoin is 60, 70, 80, 90k, you're not going to care if you bought in at 60, 70, 80, 90 and the price is $3 million of Bitcoin one day. So keep stacking, keep your head down, and I will see you all next week. Thank you.